Two of the most popular and my favorite characters within Marvel are the Incredible Hulk and Venom. So you can imagine I was stoked in the Absolute Carnage event when those two characters came together. And having owned over 50 Hulk statues and over 50 Venom statues, it's just natural for me if a Venomized Hulk comes out, gotta buy it, right? Best of both worlds. Why buy one Venomized Hulk when you can buy two? Hey, my name is Mr. X. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. We are giving away $1,000 statues to you guys. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Welcome everybody to the Extreme Channel. Today we're going to review this custom Venomized Hulk. And I talk about this all the time with Venomized characters because I've owned so many different statues of characters who have been Venomized that to me the word Venomized is kind of wrong. Venom is Eddie Brock and the symbiote alien together. So once Eddie Brock is out of the picture, is it really Venom? So it should be symbioted Hulk, which just sounds stupid. But anyway, if you're here and you're like, that's just stupid merging those characters, it's not. It is based off of a comic and an amazing part of that comic. I'm wondering if that's going to hit. It's really close. There we go. So in the Absolute Carnage event, Carnage is brought back to life. And he is trying to get all the different pieces of the Codex or the symbiote so they can bring Null. Venom 3, the film that came out recently, was loosely based on that, very, very loosely. Now, during this quest, they don't think they have enough power to kill Carnage because he's almost become godlike. And the symbiote is talking to Eddie and saying, we have to do something big. And Eddie is, no, we can't do it. And Bruce Banner is there with a bunch of other people from Mr. Fantastic trying to figure out how to beat Absolute Carnage. And the symbiote looks over at Bruce Banner and says, if you're not strong enough to do it, then I'll find someone who will. And he leaps onto Bruce Banner. And Bruce Banner freaks out. He turns into the Hulk and they say, we are Hulk. Venom smash. And it is one of the coolest parts of the Absolute Carnage series and the King in Black, the whole symbioted aspect, I think. Now, it's very short-lived. It doesn't last long, but I believe this custom statue is actually specifically made off of that scene. So during that scene, they're in a lab where they're collecting symbiotes to try and remove the Codex so Carnage can't get them. And I believe that's what the container is in the back. We'll talk all about that. Now, I said that this was not my first Venomized Hulk. I own another Venomized Hulk, this statue right here. So today we're just going to review this guy, but we are going to do a future video, an Extrumble, an Extreme Rumble, compare this one to that one to see which one I should keep. Maybe I should keep both of them. And we're going to talk about the other symbiote Hulks that are available on the market. There's about 3 or 4 other ones in this scale. So with that being said, let's dive right into the review of this guy. There is a lot to cover, and I highly encourage you, go read the Absolute Carnage storyline by Donny Cates if you like Venom and Carnage. It is absolutely amazing, and then King in Black after that. You can do it with omnibuses. So omnibuses are big collections of comics if you're not unfamiliar. But let's dive in. There's a lot of stuff to cover. And again, let's start with that concept of this piece. So when you're making a Venomized character, a really important part is you want to be true to both characters, both Venom and the Hulk. So there are some different display options, which we'll talk about in design. But as I said, I believe this is the lab where the Mr. Fantastic, and it wasn't even Mr. Fantastic, it was Reed Richards from another world. I can't remember his name. And they were collecting symbiotes, keeping them in a container because they wanted to withdraw the Codex. Some of the symbiotes were good, some were bad. And this shows him breaking out of it, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but it still looks cool with Hulk smashing a lab. Reminds me of another statue we're going to look at in a second. And he is lurching forward. Remember, this was really scary and painful for Hulk when it happened, or for Bruce Banner, because he didn't want to merge. He knows that this type of power would just get out of hand, and you see that in this statue. And it's the symbiotes trying to latch on, trying to transform. All this shit's going on. There's damage and wreckage and symbiote tendrils everywhere, and I think it looks really, really cool. Very cool concept, different than any of the other symbiote Hulks because they really went all out with the base. So I appreciate that, and I think it gives it a 4 out of 5 on the extreme scale. Better than average, but not necessarily the best I've ever seen. Where this really shines, and whatever the opposite of shine, where it darks, is in the design. There's some really, really good things and some really tough things. We're going to look at the unboxing and assembly, or at least part of it. And then let's do the dimensions really quick. So the base is about 22 inches wide. The symbiote container puts it well at 27. The deepest part of the base is about 20. And then your tallest part is probably this tendril up here. Just under 24 inches, which means it'll fit in a lot of display cases. Now, I'm only going to show you 90% of the assembly because the last 10% I couldn't figure out, so I just did it off camera. It was where a few of the tendrils went and a few other things we're going to talk about. But check it out. 3 different boxes for this beast, which is actually pretty easy to believe. All very heavy. Ironically, when I was unboxing them, I got them mixed up with another Venomized character, which was a total mess. But right here you can see 2 of the 3 boxes had an art box. And then they were all straps and black foam. First box had 2 layers, tons and tons of pieces to this, as you will see. The base, very, very heavy, which makes the whole thing heavy. Here's another layer in another box. And the final layer of the body. All right, so you can see there's some different display options. Let's cover those really quick. First, they gave 2 arms. Now, one of these arms is almost completely covered in symbiote, or at least the hand is. Clearly the way to go for me. Or you have one that's just semi-covered. Now, because you do this, it leaves a nasty seam line. Thankfully, most of it's on the back and hard to see, but it is there. I think this is a little bit of a miss. You should have gotten really creative. And I don't feel it was that creative. And I feel that way with the portraits. There's 3 portraits that are all very similar. So the first one here is the Venomized head. So you don't really see Hulk at all. Looks cool. I like the green eyes. Then you have one where Hulk's face is about to be swallowed. This does look cool. Has the tongue. And then one where he's kind of roaring. So almost identical. So a few things about those portraits. All of them have the tongue. I think that's a little bit of a miss. The tongue is not removable. I kind of wish they would have varied it up. But they did give you an awesome portrait display, which I love. Now, interestingly enough, I've bought Venomized pieces from this custom company before. It was a Venomized Wolverine right here. And what's funny, some of the design issues that were on that are also on this. So first of all, the portraits are a little bit loose, which is always nerve-wracking. Not as bad as the Wolverine. If you remember, if you watched that video, some of them fell out. Another issue I have was the assembly was a little difficult. Like I said, I had to stop at the last 10 minutes. They did have an assembly video that was okay. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad, but it did not allow me to find where this last tendril goes. I spent about 30 minutes looking. The other thing I didn't do is they gave you these pliable rods, which are just supposed to go into some of the holes and circuitry back here that you wouldn't even see. So I figured I'll just stick those back in the box. Now, the other thing they did give you was a really nice COA, Certificate of Authenticity. Here's a picture of what it looks like. I appreciate that, although it'll go right back in the box. I think the size is perfect. I think this is exactly what you want. But there is a huge display issue. He's looking straight down. It's even hard for you guys to see him on camera, and you're equal with him. You almost have to put him up high, which I'm not going to do. I think this is a huge negative. You don't get to see the Hulk's face. Maybe if I display the Venom portrait, it'll be a little bit better. Huge, huge miss in my opinion. So the goods. Some cool switch outs, but they could have been more creative, so it kind of was almost a bad. Some bad seam lines. Assembly was rough. The displayability is a little bit rough, but this is a really elaborate statue too. Anytime they're gonna go really elaborate, I gotta give them a little bit of props. So I'm gonna give the design a 3 out of 5. I think they were really ambitious, and that for the most part, they pulled it off. The issues I'm talking about are pretty minor. The biggest one is that displayability. You can't even see the Hulk's face. Now, really quick, I alluded to this earlier. This really reminds me of a custom Hulk statue, my favorite custom Hulk statue I've ever owned, right here, where he was kind of breaking out of the container. Again, it didn't really make sense from a perspective. And I don't think they stole that concept from that, because, again, totally different situation. But just that was kind of a side note, nothing really important. But let's look at the paint and sculpt. Now, one of the things they did here is I think they went more comic-y. Yes, comic-y is a word. You really get that feeling, especially with the portrait, and I think it's really the paint that highlights that. And I felt that in some of their other pieces I've bought from them in the past. Because your other option is kind of go to the super realistic, which I also think works a lot. Here, check it out. All right, so usually I don't like to start with the portraits, but let's do that first. Again, we have to get pretty low here. So this is where I really feel that comic-y vibe, and I think you can see what I'm saying, but it's done well. I think his teeth are a little bit too red, but you know, who the hell knows what happens when you're transforming into Venom. A nice job on the tongue. The eyes are black on this one. I think they're green on the other one. Yeah, they are. So here he's maybe a little farther in. Great job on the tongue. It's the same tongue on each one. I like that glistening effect, and you can see the veins and even that kind of that bottom part of the tongue that I don't even know what they call them. I wish they would have went a little more white with the teeth. These are probably some of the dirtiest Venom teeth I've seen, although I have seen a few like that. I like the shine and gloss they gave over the tendrils everywhere. It really gives it a lot of movement. Here's the other ones really quick. So I think that's a great looking one. I think the previous one, we'll talk about it in the comparison video. The previous Hulk statue I own also has that portrait. And then here's the other one again. So yeah, you can see the eyes are green on that one. I guess I didn't notice. So here they're black and here they're green. I really like that. Small detail. And then you can see the symbiote starting to take over his mouth. To me, that's like a Hulk smash face. I do like that. Base, again, kind of that comic vibe to it because these colors you don't really see in real life. And I've been in like a lot of factories and research facilities. You know, they do a lot of research on me because I'm weird. But this could have been better. This is supposed to be broken glass down here. It doesn't look like broken glass. It looks decent on the capsule back there. So I understand they didn't want to use a translucent resin. There's a lot of risk with breakage, but how they're scattered here looks too organized to me. But I do like the symbiote kind of moving everywhere. You do see the traditional Hulk pants. They gave some texture to it. We don't know if there's rips in it. So you got to remember he was transforming it when it jumped onto Bruce Banner, the symbiote. He was Bruce Banner. So he kind of transformed to Venom and the Hulk at the same time. Traditional Venom symbol, it is protruding. Sometimes it's indented. And it's kind of broken up because, again, it's the middle of the transformation process. During design, there are some seam lines on the tendrils we didn't really talk about, but that's kind of expected. I think the musculature that we can see with the Hulk and the skin is done decent. Give you a little shot of the whole capsule on the back. While you wouldn't see this, it's worn, so it's like they've used it a lot, which I think it was brand new in the movie because they just created it to start extracting the codexes from the symbiotes. But yeah, while there's nothing about this paint and sculpt that screams, best thing I've ever seen, it's good. It's definitely decent. Hard viewability, like we talked about, to get a good, really picture of everything overall. But I think they did a nice job representing what they needed to with the paint and sculpt. All right. Usually I score the paint and sculpt separately, but I think I'm going to throw them together on this. I think they're both 3 out of 5. It's good. It's what I paid for. It's what I would expect. Definitely not bad, but it's not the best I've ever seen either, which is okay because this is actually a pretty decently affordable piece. So they only made 40 of these, and When I do that video in the future, we're going to talk about all the different Venomized symbioted Hulks. Most of them are custom like this, so they make small edition runs. So even though there are a lot of other options, there's not a ton necessarily. I think there's about 5 different statues that have been created in this scale of this particular character. Retail was $1,300. Not too bad. I think that was the early bird special. But $12.99 plus you pay shipping wasn't that. I can't recall how much it was, but it was a few $100. So you're about $1,500 all in. This is a really, really big piece. And here's the thing. Even if you haven't read that Donny Cates storyline, there are a ton of Venom and Hulk fans out there. Even if they don't know the storyline, they may want a statue like this. Case in point, some of the highest selling statues are Wolverines, Venoms, Batmans, Hulks. So I could definitely see a market for this. So I'm going to give the value a 3 out of 5. I think if I had to sell it tomorrow, I could probably make my money back. I may sell it, not tomorrow. But again, we're going to do an extreme rumble between those two. So make sure you not only like this video, but you sub to the channel and hit the bell notification. Does it have the X factor? Is it a 5 out of 5? I don't think it is. I think just like a lot of the other scores, it's a really solid 3 out of 5. It's what I paid for. It's what I expect. And I want to remind people, if you're new to the channel or you just don't remember, 3 is a good score. It's like when you do a employee review on someone and you give them meets requirements, it means you're doing your fucking job. Can you tell it's annual review time at work? So I like it. I like it a lot. I like the fact it's very different than my other one, which you'll see in that future video. Oh, one other side note. It's heavy as fuck. I mean, it's probably 60, 70 pounds. So I'm probably going to have to disassemble it to move it, which is going to be a pain in the ass. Pain in the ass. That's the worst type of pain. As we try to grow this channel, we like to reward you guys for watching and subscribing. So because of that, every 5,000 milestone when it comes to subscribers, we give away a couple $1,000s worth of statues. We've actually given away over 20 statues. To win one was easy. First, you got to be subscribed to the channel. You'll get bell notifications when videos drop. Each video that drops, you want to make a comment on those videos. We pick a random video, we give away statues based on a comment. You can say whatever you want. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to the creators of this. I do love it. It's a great piece to have. And I just stuttered there. It almost makes you think I'm lying, but no, I'm not. How can Venomized Hulk be wrong? Hey, thanks for watching. Please drop a like. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.